The moment you panic after 3 losses, that tight feeling in your chest, that urge to change everything, to click something, to do anything just to stop the pain, that moment right there is the market telling you something brutal. Not about your strategy, not about the setup, about you. And if you've ever slammed your desk after a third red trade, stared at your screen like it personally betrayed you, or felt your confidence evaporate faster than your account balance, then don't look away. This isn't a motivational speech, this is a mirror. I remember the first time it happened to me clearly. 3 losses in a row. Clean setups, followed the rules, or at least I thought I did. The first loss annoyed me. The second one made me tense. By the third, something snapped. My breathing changed, my shoulders tightened. I stopped seeing the chart and started seeing my self-worth reflected in P&L numbers. And that's when the real damage started. Not because of those 3 losses, but because of what I did after them. I sized up. I forced trades. I needed to get it back. I told myself I was being decisive, when really I was panicking. And in less than an hour, a normal red day turned into a disaster. Here's the part most people don't want to hear. 3 losses mean nothing. Statistically, emotionally, professionally, they mean absolutely nothing. But psychologically? To an unprepared trader, they feel like proof. Proof that you're bad at this. Proof that the market has changed. Proof that something is wrong. And that's the trap. Because the market doesn't test you with complexity first. It tests you with boredom, with repetition, with small losses that shouldn't matter. It tests whether you can stay the same person after discomfort. Most can't. I've watched this play out hundreds of times, in Discord servers, in prop firm chats, in private messages from people who swear they had a good system until it stopped working 3 trades ago. They all say the same thing in different words. I don't know what happened. What happened is that your expectations were fragile. You secretly believed you were entitled to smoother progress. You thought discipline would be easier once you had rules. You thought losses would hurt less once you understood probability. They don't. Not at first. There was a guy I traded with years ago. Smart, hardworking, obsessed with learning. Backtested everything. Journaled religiously. On paper, he was doing everything right. But live trading exposed something ugly. Every time he hit 3 losses like clockwork, he unraveled, not explosively, quietly. He'd start tweaking entries by a few cents, then stops. Then he'd skip a valid setup because the last 3 didn't work. By the end of the week, his stats were ruined. Not because the edge disappeared, but because he couldn't emotionally survive a perfectly normal losing streak. That's the truth nobody sells you. Trading isn't hard because charts are complex. It's hard because you're not built to experience randomness with money on the line. Your brain is wired to find patterns, assign meaning, and avoid pain. 3 losses in a row feel like danger. Your nervous system doesn't understand probabilities. It understands threat. And when it feels threatened, it wants control. Immediately, that's why you panic. That's why you change things. That's why you sabotage yourself. The harsh reality is this. If 3 losses shake you, you're not trading yet. You're gambling with rules. Real trading begins when losses stop being events and start being data. And that transition is violent. It strips you of ego. It humbles you. It forces you to confront parts of yourself you didn't know existed. Impatience, fragility, the need to be right, the need to feel progress every single day. Those things don't disappear just because you want them to. They have to be burned out of you through experience. I didn't become calm after losses because I read a book or heard a quote. I became calm because I broke enough times to realize panic was more expensive than any stop loss. I tracked it. I saw the pattern. My biggest drawdowns didn't come from bad market conditions. They came after I decided that 3 losses meant something about me. Once I saw that clearly, I stopped trying to eliminate losses and started trying to eliminate reactions. That's a subtle but life-changing shift. When your goal is to avoid losses, every loss feels like failure. When your goal is to execute without emotional distortion, losses become irrelevant. Still uncomfortable, but irrelevant. You don't need confidence to trade well. You need neutrality. Confidence is unstable. Neutrality is durable. Most beginners think readiness for trading means knowledge, more indicators, better entries, a new time frame. But readiness is emotional stamina. It's being able to sit in discomfort without flinching. It's being able to do the same boring thing after 3 losses that you did before them. Same size, same rules, same patience. That sounds simple until you try it. There was a period in my trading where I forced myself to do something that felt almost insulting to my ego. After 3 consecutive losses, I was not allowed to change anything. No revenge trade, no break, no adjustment. I had to take the next valid setup exactly as planned. The first few times were brutal. My hands would sweat. My mind would scream that I was stupid. But something interesting happened over time. The fear faded, not because the losses stopped, but because I proved to myself that I didn't need to react to survive them. That's when trading changed, not when I found a better setup. When I stopped needing the market to reassure me. Let me say this clearly because someone needs to hear it. You are not special for panicking after 3 losses. You're normal. But if you stay there, you'll never make it. The market does not reward emotional honesty. It rewards emotional control. It doesn't care how hard you're trying or how badly you want this. It only responds to consistency over time. And consistency is impossible if your mood changes with every red trade. You cannot build anything serious on emotional instability. Not a business, not a relationship, not a trading career. Yet people come into this game expecting to make money while still being reactive, impulsive, and validation hungry. It doesn't work that way. Here's the uncomfortable question you should be asking yourself if 3 losses wreck you. What did you expect trading to feel like? Because if you imagined clarity, confidence, and steady progress, you were sold a fantasy. Real trading feels uncertain even when you're good at it. It feels boring when you're disciplined. It feels frustrating even on profitable months. And it feels lonely because no one can do the emotional work for you. The traders who survive aren't tougher than you. They are not smarter. They just stopped arguing with reality sooner. They accepted that discomfort is the entry fee. That losses are not a signal. That panic is optional, but only if you're willing to train yourself out of it. This is where most people quit, by the way. Not when they lose money, but when they realize they have to change internally. It's easier to look for a new strategy than to rebuild your emotional responses. It's easier to blame market conditions than to admit you're not as stable as you thought. But if you're serious about this, truly serious, that's the work. Now let me slow this down, because this is where it either clicks or it doesn't. Imagine a surgeon who panics after 3 complicated procedures in a row, or a pilot who loses confidence after a few rough landings. We wouldn't trust them, not because mistakes happened, but because their reaction reveals unreadiness. Trading is no different. You're operating under uncertainty with consequences. Emotional regulation is not optional, it's the job. The market will give you losing streaks that make no sense, perfect setups that fail, weeks where nothing works. And then suddenly, everything aligns again. If your identity is tied to short-term outcomes, those swings will destroy you. You'll never stabilize long enough to see the edge play out. I've had months where I did everything right and still barely broke even. I've had weeks where I couldn't miss. Neither meant anything. What mattered was that I didn't change who I was in response. That's the part nobody celebrates. The quiet days where you did your job and felt nothing. Those are the days that build traders. If you're listening to this and thinking, okay, but how do I stop panicking? Here's the honest answer. You don't stop it by trying to feel calm. You stop it by removing the meaning you assign to losses. Panic is a story you tell yourself about danger, about incompetence, about urgency. Change the story and the emotion loses its grip. 3 losses don't mean you're failing. They mean you showed up to a probabilistic environment. Nothing more. When you truly accept that, not intellectually but emotionally, something shifts. You stop trying to escape discomfort and start observing it. And observation is power. I want you to think about the last time you panicked after a losing streak. Not what the market did, but what you told yourself. That inner dialogue is where your real work is, because until that voice changes, no strategy will save you. Trading doesn't break people, it exposes them. It reveals how you handle uncertainty, delay, boredom, and self-doubt. If 3 losses expose chaos inside you, that's not a reason to quit. It's a signal to grow up emotionally. The traders who make it aren't fearless. They're familiar with fear. They've sat with it long enough that it stopped controlling them. They don't need reassurance after every trade. They don't need to feel good to act correctly. They operate even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. So if 3 losses make you panic, don't look for a new indicator. Don't look for a new mentor. Look inward. Ask yourself whether you're trading to make money or to feel good, because the market will never give you both at the same time. Here's the final truth, and I'll leave you with this. Readiness for trading is not proven by winning streaks. It's proven by how little you change during losing ones. When losses stop hijacking your behavior, when you can take the 4th trade exactly like the first, that's when you're ready. Not before. And until then, every panic is not a failure. It's feedback. The question is whether you're brave enough to listen to it.